At the company retreat, my boss clinked his drink and announced, "She's just here to make us look good on diversity reports. Don't worry, she won't say a word." I sat there as everyone awkwardly laughed, and he grinned, "Seriously, watch, she'll probably thank me for including her." Instead, I quietly recorded every word and played it back during the board meeting. You should have seen their faces. Let me tell you what really happened, because people love to skip the quiet parts. The parts where you're sitting at your desk, staring at an email so passive-aggressive it might as well slap you in the face. The parts where you're in a room full of people and still feel completely invisible. My name's Myra, and I was the only black woman on the leadership team at Solvatech, a mid-sized tech consulting company in Raleigh. I had nearly 15 years in the industry. I wasn't fresh. I knew how to run a team, manage accounts, and deliver projects on time. I wasn't loud. I wasn't flashy. But I was damn good at what I did. They didn't hire me because of that. Not really. From the start, things felt off. My interview felt more like a PR pitch than an actual conversation. HR kept using phrases like diversity momentum and fresh perspective. I should have known then. My direct boss, Trevor, was the golden boy. Early 40s, white, always had a craft coffee in hand, and he wore Patagonia vests like a uniform. He had a way of talking to me that felt different than how he talked to others. Sometimes he'd call me sunshine or say things like, "We need someone like you in the room," but in this weird tone that made it sound more like a decoration than a compliment. At first, I tried to ignore it. I needed the job. My mom had just had surgery, and I was helping out with bills. Plus, I kept telling myself, maybe I'm just being sensitive. I wasn't. Trevor would interrupt me in meetings, then repeat my ideas like they were his. Once during a Zoom call, after I corrected a vendor, he muted the mic and said, "Spicy today, huh?" Then unmuted like nothing happened. Everyone heard it. No one said a word. I started keeping records. I opened a new Google Drive folder, locked it, titled it "Just in Case." Every inappropriate email. Every comment that made my stomach twist. I screen recorded Zoom meetings. Took pictures of chat messages. Every time he joked about me being the face they needed, I saved it. Then came the company retreat. We went to this fake rustic resort in Asheville. It was all exposed beams and leather chairs. There was a fire pit. Someone had even brought a guitar. It was supposed to be a bonding trip, strategy talk during the day and drinks at night. That second night, it got real. Trevor had been drinking. Everyone had, but he was a few bourbons deep. We were all sitting around the fire pit. I was already tired of smiling through jokes and pretending to be part of the gang. He stood up, lifted his glass, and said, "Let's hear it for the leadership team." Everyone clapped, a few hooped. He added, "And for HR, for finally giving us some color." Then he looked at me and said it. "She's just here to make us look good on diversity reports. Don't worry, she won't say a word." There was this pause. Like the air got sucked out of the fire. Some people laughed, the kind of nervous laugh people do when they don't know what else to do. One guy, Matt from finance, looked like he wanted to sink into his chair. Trevor just grinned and added, "Seriously, watch, she'll probably thank me for including her." I didn't say anything. I just looked at him. Calm. Quiet. What he didn't know was that I had my phone in my coat pocket. I had hit record as soon as we sat down. Something told me I might need it. I got everything. Clear as day. 3 weeks later, we had the Q4 board review. All the senior leadership was there. The board members, including the founder, flew in from Boston. It was my turn to present updates on the infrastructure overhaul I had been leading. 10 minutes. I had 10 minutes. That's when I made my move. I stayed late the night before the board meeting. I made sure my slides were clean, simple, and solid. Everything backed by numbers. I wanted them to see results first, what I'd done for this company. Then I'd show them what the company had done to me. My slot was second to last. Right before Trevor's big vision pitch. He kept joking in the hallway, saying things like, "Try not to put the board to sleep, sunshine." I just smiled. The meeting room was packed. Long polished table, catered breakfast on the side, and bottled water with the company logo. All the board members sat on one end, quiet and alert. A few execs sat around them. Trevor took the seat right next to the founder, legs crossed, acting like he already owned the place. When it was my turn, I stood, walked to the screen, and clicked to the first slide. I didn't speak right away. I let the numbers speak first, cutting downtime by 22%, finishing migrations ahead of schedule, saving close to $500,000 across 2 quarters. There were nods. The founder even leaned forward. "Impressive," he said. Then I said, "Before I wrap up, I have something else I need to share. It's not on the slides." I clicked to a black screen. Just the words, "a culture problem." There was a pause in the room. "I've spent the last few months doing more than infrastructure work," I said. "I've also had to document something no employee should have to deal with." Trevor sat up straighter. "I recorded this during our company retreat." I hit play. The audio wasn't fuzzy. It wasn't edited. It was loud and clear. Trevor's voice rang through the room. "She's just here to make us look good on diversity reports. Don't worry, she won't say a word. Seriously, watch, she'll probably thank me for including her." No one moved. Even the air conditioner seemed to go quiet. I looked up. One board member blinked hard, as if trying to understand what he just heard. The founder's face turned stiff. The HR lead slowly lowered her pen. Trevor's face? Like someone had just dropped ice down his back. "I've been recording these kinds of remarks for months," I said, pulling out a folder. I brought printed transcripts, screenshots, and emails. This company doesn't just have a Trevor problem. It has a culture problem that rewards people like him. Then I walked back to my seat. Silence. No one said a word for a long time. Then the founder turned to HR and asked, "How long have you known about this?" That's when the chaos started. HR tried to play dumb, but I had emails that showed they'd brushed off my concerns before. One even said, "Just let it go, Trevor's harmless." I had printed that one in bold. Someone from legal asked to take a quick recess. The board whispered. Trevor tried to laugh it off, then realized no one else was laughing. He stood up, but the founder told him to sit down. Then the meeting ended early. But the fallout was just beginning. By the time I got back to my desk, my inbox had exploded. There were 3 emails from HR, 1 from legal, and a calendar invite marked urgent, executive session. I knew what that meant. They weren't just trying to clean up the mess. They were trying to contain it. What I didn't expect was the call from a blocked number that afternoon. "Is this Myra Simmons?" a deep voice asked. "Yes," I said, cautious. "This is Daniel Madsen. I'm an outside counsel for the board. I've been retained to conduct an internal investigation. I'd like to speak with you today, if you're available." So now they were bringing in lawyers. That told me 2 things: they were scared, and they didn't trust their own HR anymore. Good. The interview took place that same day, over Zoom. I laid everything out. Dates, names, screenshots, and patterns. I didn't just talk about Trevor. I talked about the way others had gone quiet when he said things. The way projects I led were credited to someone else. How I was left out of leadership dinners. How another woman on the marketing team had quietly quit after being iced out for asking too many culture questions. Daniel didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he said, "You've been very clear. I'll need to follow up, but you've already provided more documentation than most people ever do." I ended the call, closed my laptop, and stared at the wall for a long time. The next morning, I got pulled into a meeting with HR and legal. They were careful with their words. Too careful. Trevor has been placed on administrative leave, one of them said. Not fired. Not removed. Just placed. I said nothing. Then they hit me with what I knew was coming. We'd like to offer you a severance package, effective immediately, the HR rep said, almost like it was a favor. We believe this is the best solution for everyone. That's when I knew they weren't trying to fix anything. They just wanted me to go away. I asked if Trevor was getting severance too. They said, we can't discuss other employees. Of course not. They offered me 6 months' pay. NDA included. I told them I'd think about it. I didn't. Instead, I forwarded everything, every file, every voice memo, every timestamped note, to one of the board members who had privately thanked me after the meeting. He was an older guy, maybe in his late 60s, and he'd looked sick to his stomach when the recording played. He replied within the hour. Myra, do not sign anything yet. I want to speak with you directly. There's more going on here than you know. He set up a meeting at a local diner, off company premises. That's when the second twist came. Trevor wasn't just any VP. He was the founder's nephew. The board had known about issues with him for years. Complaints. HR reports. Exit interviews that mysteriously disappeared. But every time, he was protected. Because of family. Now, they couldn't ignore it. Because I hadn't just told them, I'd shown them. Publicly. In front of each other. The board member, Robert, told me quietly, this might blow up bigger than you planned. Are you ready for that? I said, I didn't come this far to go quiet now. He nodded. Then he leaned in and added, and you're not the only one. Someone else just came forward. With worse. I didn't expect that last part. Someone else just came forward. With worse. Robert wouldn't say who. Said it wasn't his place. But he promised me one thing before I left that diner. You'll be protected. And Trevor, he's done. For good this time. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring out the window. Part of me wanted to feel proud. I'd stood up for myself. I'd finally spoken out. But all I could think about was the other person who came forward. How long had they been sitting on it? How much had they put up with while Trevor walked around like nothing could touch him? 2 days later, the board issued a company-wide statement. They didn't name Trevor directly, but it was clear who they meant. An executive has been terminated following multiple confirmed violations of our code of conduct, and we are implementing an external audit of HR procedures, effective immediately. He was gone. But they didn't stop there. The head of HR stepped down. The legal counsel who drafted my severance letter was replaced. And the founder? He gave up his seat on the board, citing a need to focus on family. I didn't miss the irony. Then Robert called me again. I want to offer you a choice, he said. We can give you a bigger severance, clean break, NDA, the whole thing. Or, we can move you into a new role. Senior level. Reporting directly to the board. We need someone who doesn't just fix systems, we need someone who fixes culture. Someone who tells the truth. It should have felt like a win. But I sat there quiet for a moment, then said, only if I have full authority. No filters. No bullshit. You've got it, he said. I took the job. Over the next 6 months, I worked harder than I ever had. Not just fixing workflows and org charts. I rebuilt trust. I held listening sessions. One-on-ones. Exit interviews with people who finally felt safe enough to say what they really thought. And I found the woman who had come forward. Her name was Claire. She worked in business ops. Younger than me. Sharp. Driven. Trevor had done worse to her, cornered her after a happy hour and said things I won't repeat here. She'd gone to HR twice. Nothing happened. When she saw what I did in that boardroom, she said she finally believed something might change. I made sure she got promoted. Publicly. On merit. Here's the part people don't like to hear: revenge is messy. You don't walk away clean. People talk. Some kept their distance from me. Some whispered I was a troublemaker. A few even unfollowed me on LinkedIn. Like that matters. But I don't regret it. Not a second. Trevor? Last I heard, he moved to Florida. Tried to start a consulting firm. Someone sent me a screenshot of his website. It was down 2 weeks later. Word gets around. And me? I kept going. I didn't become a hero. I just told the truth. Loud enough so no one could pretend not to hear it anymore. Because sometimes revenge isn't slamming a door. Sometimes it's holding it open just long enough for someone else to walk through.